I, for one, don't find it fishy at all that the line tonight was Suns minus 5.5. Psychos and sickos unite for a big veto in the Big Easy edition of the PHNX Suns post-game show. Of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365. Deposit 10. Place a bet for 5. Get $150 in bonus bets. And we know what betting app the refs were using tonight because, wow, what a game in all sorts of aspects. Furt the roofs to the max. I'm Eric. That's Espo. We got the Freckled Mamba behind his own Mac, making all of the magic happen as we are from our home studios tonight. And the Phoenix Suns pulled out a much-needed victory, 115 to 108. Before we get into everything, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, we'll be back tomorrow for pre- and post-game shows as well. Espo, before we dive into the refs, Mark Williams, Devin Booker, the injuries, everything the Suns did to pull off a win tonight, Devin Booker furthered my agenda tonight. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. What agenda are we speaking of?
After the game with Amanda Pflugrad, Devin Booker said tonight's game was a must-win for the Suns.
There's no doubt that it was. You're playing an inferior team on the front end of a back-to-back against them on the road. You needed this one. And now you're 4 games over 500. You have a chance to go 5 games over 500 tomorrow night. You have to win these kind of games. So I completely agree. I thought you were going to try to tell me he won your bet, which I knew he didn't. So no. he did further the agenda of you suck at that part of this. So.
I was close tonight. Okay, I was 5 Devin Booker points away from getting back into the positive. I'm getting close. I sniff it. I'm sniffing the victory. But look,
you're smelling some stinky stuff there. That's all you're smelling.
We don't need to talk about my bets, okay? We can talk about the refs. I want to cleanse, okay? I know that there was so many more reasons than just the refs as to why this game was close. The Suns won. We should celebrate that. Mark Williams had a great game. We should celebrate that. But I personally just need to get this off my chest and then we can move on. I am so sick of almost every single post game sitting here and having to feel like I need to talk about the refs because they are that big of a part of the game. I get it. Refereeing is hard and the Suns have never had a good whistle, but Espo, this is egregious to the point where when you look at the stats for tonight, it's not just the fact that the Pelicans took more free throws than the Suns. They shoot more shots at the rim. It was 42 to 25. And honestly, take the free throws out of it. Just some of the ticky-tack foul calls that they were calling against the Suns while Jose Alvarado had somebody in a full chokehold. It's to the point where it's a pattern and it's really frustrating. And I just feel like as a fan, I can't hold that in anymore.
Well, a lot of nights, I think it's just okay. It's not as egregious. Tonight, it was probably the most embarrassing thing I've experienced in New Orleans since I wound up passed out at an Arby's on Bourbon Street at 3 a.m. This is not, this was disgusting. This was egregious. This was everything that people have come to believe about refs in the NBA. And there was no real explanation as to why it was so uneven. Especially you wind up getting a technical foul on Dylan Brooks because Trey Murphy starts things this whole thing is starting to feel like it's more reputational than anything when it comes to the Suns because they're a team that isn't afraid to play good defense, to play hard-nosed defense, to try hard, and the refs just don't seem to know how to call that, and then also just seem to have some kind of bias against this team. And usually I won't go that far, but tonight it was just too much to deny. It was egregious to the highest of levels. And I even put in our Discord, in our Slack in that final call, hey, this is very odd that there's 0.4 seconds left. It's pretty clear that it isn't a foul, and they're calling a foul because the Suns are up 7 and the line's 5.5.
Yeah. It's weird. And again, you don't want to go out there and just straight up accuse whatever. And everything, we're joking. I just legally would like to put that out there about any
I'm not
refs.
saying, yeah, I'm not
But
saying that any of
it's
them are
not a
betting
good
on the
time.
game.
Yeah, it's not a good time for that stuff to happen, obviously, with all the news out today and how integrated gambling is. And integrated gambling isn't just all sports. I mean, hell, like we are no different from that. But it just opens up an avenue when you have a performance like tonight from the refs, which again, they're humans. But the same way that I'll sit here and I'll criticize Devin Booker if he has a bad game, I'll criticize, Jordan Ott if he coaches a bad game. These are refs that are at the highest level that get paid to do a job. And tonight they did an egregious job. It wasn't just the Dylan Brooks technical. Devin Booker got a technical for doing 1/8 of what Luka Doncic does every 5 seconds in a game and gets away
To be
from.
fair, we don't know what he said.
But but here's the thing.
Because there are lines. There are lines. If he says something, there are lines. So I don't know about that. I won't blanket that it's that. When it's something as obvious as what Trey Murphy did to start crap and then calling it on Dylan, I'll say that because that's an eye test. But I don't know what Devin said. I mean, there are red lines you can't say that are warrant a technical. So I don't know about that in terms of being biased, but there were a lot of questionable calls tonight for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? At the end of the day, if this is 115-108 New Orleans, and I'd want to spend more than like 4 minutes on that, but I'd like to move on just because, look, yes, the refs refed an atrocious game tonight and gave the Pelicans quite a few chances to win this game. And in fact, if they shot better from the free throw line when they were gifted those opportunities, they probably would have won this game. But Espo, they didn't. The ball don't lie, and neither do the Phoenix Suns. Just from an overarching perspective, not on any individual player, this was a really, really, really impressive win from the Suns. I get it. New Orleans has 8 wins on the season. Not a good team. They had won 5 out of their last 6 games, have been playing very differently since bringing Zion and Jordan Poole off the bench. James Borrego has been coaching them well on the road against this New Orleans team who definitely showed fight. Jose Alvarado showed fight whether you like him or not. Trey Murphy showed fight whether you like him or not. This was a game where the Phoenix Suns kept on getting punched. Ryan Dunn goes down with an injury. Colin Gillespie goes down with an injury. Those guys come back. And the Suns didn't play a good game. But at the end of the day, they found a way to win. And that's kind of been the story this season. When they've played ugly, they've at least given themselves a chance to win. And more often than not, they have come out the victors.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this was a great game by any means, but when you're gritty, you don't have to play pretty necessarily. You can find a way to win. I think, and Ayrton, if we have the graphic, this is definitely on the Buscemi spectrum tonight. There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
It is a full and utter Buscemi. They could not hit from deep. They made mistakes. The refs were a complete joke, like we talked about. This was the ultimate full Buscemi, where it was ugly, but it was effective. And they got the win, they got things done, and down the stretch, they proved that they were the better team and the smarter team. You look at those last 5 minutes between Mark and Devin and the things that they were able to do. The Suns imposed their will down the stretch, but this was a complete and utter Buscemi tonight.
It was an ugly win, but good teams win ugly games. And in the NBA, there are games where you're like, oh, yeah, that has to be a win against these lower level teams. And I'm not just trying to poop on the Rockets because there's connections there, but like, you look at the Rockets. They've had 3 games recently where like, oh yeah, you should beat that team. Pelicans, loss in overtime. Kings, loss. Clippers, loss. It's the NBA. Anything is possible night in, night out. And the way that this game was played tonight, the Pelicans put themselves in a position to win at home. And they didn't. Because when it gets down and ugly, the Suns have playmakers at the end of the game. Colin Gillespie with a really clutch bucket. Mark Williams did nothing in the second half until those last 5 minutes. Devin Booker really turned it up in that fourth quarter, not just scoring, but also driving, getting fouls called, forcing the refs' hands and making them kind of play that same game that New Orleans made them play. It was a really impressive response from them. Even Dylan Brooks had a clutch shot after not having the best offensive performance. I just think from a holistic standpoint, we've said it so many times, and I just don't want it to get lost, how awesome it is to have a team that just fights. Like, this is the day after Christmas, the start of a road trip, a team that's playing with house money, no Grayson Allen, no Jalen Green. A lot of teams would have just been like, whatever. Even really good teams in the middle of December, end of December, just kind of have those games where they let it go. Not this team. This team just started fighting tooth and nail every single second they could. The game never got out of reach. And I don't want to take that for granted, Espo. I'm still so grateful that we could sit here on all these post games and talk about a team like this.
Well, I mean, Rex Chapman, who, by the way, did a great job, and I believe his first game that he's done in the booth for the Suns tonight, brought it up again about how Matt Ishbia sat there last May and said, we're going to put together a team that you will be proud of, that goes out there and fights every night. And that is exactly what this team does. This would have been a game that previous iterations would have packed it up when they got punched in the mouth. When the Pelicans went up 5 on that, I believe it was an 8-0 run to start the fourth with about 9 minutes left. That's where the previous Suns teams would have just packed it in and gone, well, we got another one tomorrow night, and showed up tomorrow night for the game. And instead, this team grinds it out. They don't care if it's going to get ugly. They don't care if they haven't hit threes at a pace that you'd like. They just find ways to continue to stay in a game. And then they've continued to learn how to win those games, and at the crunch time, and find ways to get guys doing the things that you need. I mean, you mentioned Colin, Devin, Mark Williams out there. You had Ryan Dunn with a big block towards the end, a guy that we all thought maybe out for a while with his knee, that whatever happened there when he went down under the basket and then limped off the court. Like, all these guys contributed in unique ways down the stretch, and they found how to win. And that is the hallmark of a gritty team.
Yeah, a gritty team and a team that pulled off a 7-point victory on the road tonight. Again, they do play the Pelicans tomorrow. But before that, let's celebrate tonight. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the numbers presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. Espo, you said it's a full Buscemi, and I think a lot of these numbers point to it. Of course, the only one that matters, 115 to 108, the Suns win. Both teams shooting in the 40s from the field. Suns shooting 48.4% from the field on 91 attempts. Pelicans 44.8% on 87 attempts. It's the three-pointers where this got real ugly. Both teams shot 20%. The Suns, 8 of 40. The Pelicans only took 25 threes tonight. They hit 5 of them. This is the great equalizer, free throws. The Suns shot 76%, 19 of 25 from the line. The Pelicans, 59.5% on 42 attempts. They had 25 made free throws on 42 attempts. The Suns had 25 attempts overall. Here's the margin the Suns won big on. Rebounds, 52 to 37. They also edged out the Pelicans 26 to 22 in assists. You look at that rebounding number, Espo, and that free throw disparity. Woo, this game could have been a lot different.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple when you look at that. Is, the Pelicans just did not convert at the line. That's 17 points that they left on the board that they just did not get. And luckily for the Suns, that was the case. But we had talked about it earlier in the pregame about how offensive rebounding was going to be important, not giving up a second chance buckets and opportunities on that. And the Suns won it 16-12, right? They controlled that portion of the game, which is why they had, more shots on goal by 3 tonight than the Pelicans did. So that's how you kind of overcome some of that poor three-point shooting, is by making sure that they don't get those second chance shots. So look, you're going to win on the margins a lot of nights. And that was one of the margins that the Suns pulled it off on. And then, they lost the turnover battle, which is rare for this team as well. And they still figured out how to win. So it's ugly, but it doesn't matter because the final score is 115-108 in your favor. And at the end of the year, nobody's going to remember how ugly you win. All they're going to care about is that you did win and that you won a game that moved you to 4 games over 500.
Yeah, I'll take an ugly win over a nice loss, right? Oh, the Suns were blowing out the Pelicans for a majority of the game, and then the Pelicans hit 53s in the fourth quarter. I don't care. I'll take an ugly win every single day. And I know that it's kind of hard when our expectations have shifted for this team, and we do expect them to be a little bit better than everybody else does on a night-to-night basis. The Suns still led tonight on the road for 75% of the game. The Pelicans only led for 17% of it. The Suns' largest lead was 9. The Pelicans' largest lead was 5. Like you mentioned, the turnovers, the Suns basically kind of handed them this game at the beginning. They had 18-12 as far as total turnovers go, but the Suns just kept on steadying out through whoever was playing. Rasheer was getting some good minutes tonight. I thought they capitalized on a couple of good moments. Royce O'Neal hitting a 3 when he needed to hit a 3. This was just okay, you'll look back on it, 7-point victory over the Pelicans. Who cares? I just think it's a big time encapsulation of all the positives that this team brings. And you're right, Espo, now 4 games over 500. Big chance to get to 18-13 tomorrow against this same team. But at the end of the day, the Suns did what they had to tonight, and that was take care of business.
Well, and we talk about the turnovers, but they only gave up 14 points off of those turnovers. They got 12 points of their own. So not all of them were live ball turnovers. And if they were, the defense got back and was able to, slow things down and get some stops as well. So again, that could have been something that turned and was a complete detriment to them, but they managed to make it not be as bad as it could have been. And that's how you win, even though it's ugly, is that you do enough in certain areas that offset those things that really didn't go your way.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of the best individual performances from tonight. We'll get to our play of the night, which I think is probably pretty obvious at this point. But before we hit this break, I want to bring up Sean's comment in the chat. It says, rumor is Brooks is already teed up and the Pelicans will be shooting a free throw before tip-off tomorrow.
That would anything surprise you? I mean, that another shot clock malfunction, all those things seem possible when it comes to Suns, Pelicans, and the NBA right now. It's
entirely
fantastic.
entirely too many shot clock malfunctions around the league. A couple a week, it seems like at this point, which is, come on, like we're the National Basketball Association. We should have that figured out.
I blame TISO, the sponsor.
No free ads.
Those clocks worked just fine until they made them round. I don't know.
Until they sponsored the clocks, which speaking of sponsors, we are going to continue rolling on the PHNX Suns post-game show, celebrating a 115-108 Suns victory to move to 4 games above 500 due to the night. Blue collar boy of the night, our play of the game, and so much more coming to you on the other side of our first break. Always love telling you about our friends over at Rally House because I'm always wearing team gear. In fact, I know a lot of you probably got team gear for Christmas and for the holidays, but if you didn't, go check out Rally House. Maybe you got some Christmas, Hanukkah money that you want to spend. Go to Tempe, Mesa, or Glendale for their in-person locations, or go to rallyhouse.com. Now, you might be asking me, Eric, what do they have at Rally House? Just the best selection of local Arizona sports teams gear. Yeah, they have the Suns, but also the Diamondbacks, the Cardinals, the Mercury, the Coyotes, ASU, and I guess they have U of A too. They have a great selection of everything, not just shirts, not just shorts, not just hats, but drinkware, signage, coolers, socks, sunscreen. They have jerseys as well. Whatever you're looking for to up your game day vibe, go shop at Rally House. Plus, rallyhouse.com has hundreds of pages of options for you to browse through. It really is the best place to get your local sports gear. So find your local Rally House location, shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com today.
You're geared up now, but you need tickets. How are you going to get into a Suns game, and how are you going to do it affordably? I know how. You're going to go to Game Time. You're going to download that app, and you are going to find the tickets that you want. My favorite part about Game Time, you're not guessing what the price is. You see the all-in price for the ticket. You're not guessing what your seat will look like and where it is. You know, because they show you. There's no guesswork when it comes to buying tickets with Game Time. And it's not just NBA games. It's NFL. It's MLB. It's MLS. If you're a soccer fan and you happen to live somewhere where there's soccer, or it's theater even. I've been to plays using Game Time and concerts, and you're going to want to do it today because you can take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets or any tickets with Game Time by downloading the Game Time app, creating an account, and using that promo code PHNX. for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code PHNX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today.
Look, maybe you're staying at home. Maybe you can't get out to a game. You just want to relax, watch some basketball. Check out our friends over at Pure Edibles. The thing that makes Pure Edibles different from other edibles isn't just the fact that they taste delicious and just like candy, not like weed, but you know exactly how you're going to feel. Not just indica, sativa, hybrid, which is a whole range and spectrum of how it's going to impact you. But on every single tin, it's clearly listed on what the effects are going to be. You want their sleep effect? Guess what? The tin's going to say sleep. You want to be uplifted? You want to be relaxed? You want to be focused? You want to be anything that you want? Well, guess what? You can get it over at Pure Edibles. They combine CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana-derived THC to get the ultimate blend of foreign edibles. Plus, they're designed to be ripped or bit in half, making it easily shareable if you're all over the age of 21, or easy to dial in your exact dose, which if you're new to edibles, I highly recommend. Start slow and go low, off rip, and then work your way up with Pure Edibles. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for hanging out with us on a Friday night. Hope you all had a great Christmas if that's what you celebrate, and appreciate all of you hanging out with us as the Suns did pick up a victory to move to 4 games over 500 due to a lot of really great individual performances. So I say, let's get right into our dude of the night, presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. It's got to be Mark Williams. Did he have the game high in points? No, he didn't, but he had the game high in heart. 24 points, 9 of 13 from the field, 6 of 8 from the line, also adding 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block, a plus 14 in just 27 minutes tonight. Espo, I think back-to-back games, we can say that have an argument. This was Mark Williams' best game as a Phoenix Sun.
Yeah, I mean, certainly up there. When you look at it, the stat line that he put up was fantastic. The last guy to put up a stat line like that as a member of the Phoenix Suns was Ricky Rubio. The last guy to do it on the road was Amari Stoudemire. So huge game from him, and he had 10 of those points in the fourth quarter. So comes up big when they need him, really in those final 5 minutes where he had gone through a rough stretch in the second half. He was 14-8 at halftime and then hadn't scored until that fourth quarter. Came up big, was a presence in that lane and around the basket that the Suns needed, because we talked about it and by the numbers. They could not buy a bucket from beyond the arc, and Mark Williams continues to be a fantastic roller. Great when he faces up towards the basket and can make a move. He has done everything that you'd want. And then the athleticism on both ends of the court has been huge for this team. I am a huge Big Vito fan. I love what Mark Williams brings to this team. I understand how they're using the plan and how it's kept him healthy and fresh in these games. And when he is on, he is one of the more dominant big men that the Suns have had in their history. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but this is a team that has struggled at center for most of its time, and he's one of the most energetic and athletic we've seen at the position.
He's awesome. I don't really know how else to phrase it except for he's awesome. Now, is he the best center that they've ever had? No, he's not the best center they've ever had. He still can't play over 30 minutes per game at this point. Who knows if he's going to play tomorrow? But clearly the plan the Suns have had him on has really allowed him to be himself athletically. We saw some really crazy individual plays from Mark Williams tonight. Before we get to the best play, I want to point out some more underrated ones. His defense on the perimeter, I think it was Rex that said it on the call. Maybe it was K-Ray. I was one of the two, obviously, because they're the only two on the call. He defends like he's a forward on the perimeter. He moves his feet well. He gets steals. He can hang with guards like Jordan Poole to force misses, even though maybe you don't have to do anything to force Jordan Poole to miss nowadays. But Mark Williams defensively, how he alters shots, how guys are afraid to go at the rim, his standing reach and his vert on top of that, he changes plays defensively that maybe for the average and casual viewer, they don't understand because it doesn't lead to a block or it doesn't always lead to a steal. But he's one of the most defensively sound centers I've ever watched play for the Suns. And he's one of the more sound defensive centers in the league today. His pure athleticism is off the charts. And I honestly think a lot of the times when he disappears, it's because the Suns are having a hard time finding him, whether it's a poor time throwing a lob or a poor time giving him an entrance pass when he's slipping on a screen. When they are finding Mark Williams, I would say like 90% of the time, he's making a positive play. It is hard to find that consistent of center play from anybody in this league, let alone somebody who's not even 25 yet.
Well, it was crazy to me that some people were wondering if he could do it defensively. That was one of the questions coming in, and he has far surpassed that. And I think part of it is when you're in Charlotte and your team defense sucks, it's really tough to look like a good defender regardless. You get put in a lot of bad positions. I think Book kind of faced the same thing here in Phoenix without any help defense on the backside. And now, Mark has been able to use his unique skill set. They've put him in positions defensively that suit his skill set, and the contact Stephen Prigion Garner has talked about that multiple times on this program. But Mark's hands, we saw it on that steal in the fourth where he poked the ball away. That is underrated. And then his smarts. He got a ball on the baseline late in that game that was about to go out of bounds, and he had the headiness to make sure his feet stayed in bounds and throw it off a New Orleans defender. And that was in a key junction where a basket would have put this game kind of in some peril. And instead, he was smart. They kept the ball and they kept the win.
He also hit a midi tonight. He also went 6 of 8 from the free throw line, which for a guy that athletic, touch does not come to them that often. He's been just incredible. And you mentioned being put in a better defensive situation. I want to just look at one specific lineup that we saw tonight with Mark Williams, where I really saw just the defensive ceiling for this team go through the roof. Dillon Brooks, Rasheer Fleming, Mark Williams as your 3, 4, 5. Whoa, brother. That is a whole lot of length. That is a whole lot of athleticism. That's a lot of grit as well, which I think is underrated about Mark. And I think Rasheer is getting there as well, is that they just fight and they have a great motor to go alongside with it. You put Mark Williams next to somebody with the wingspan like Rasheer Fleming, maybe potentially Kaman Malawach as well, roaming the paint as Mark defends a little bit more on the perimeter. That move that they made on draft day to get both Kaman and Mark, then to go draft Rasheer, that front court maybe being your front court of the future is absolutely scary just on the defensive end, let alone if those two rookies develop into what we think they can develop into on the offensive end. That is a front court absolutely built for the modern NBA on both sides of the ball, and Mark Williams would be the best player there. That is an impressive move from Brian Gregory to get that done.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that you can look at and looking at the future and get excited about it. But man, the present even has been just unbelievable with Mark. And I said it earlier in the show, and I'm gonna keep pounding the table on this. Doesn't have to be pretty because this team's gritty, and Mark is one of those guys that just continues to fight, tipping balls out, trying to make the right defensive play. Doesn't matter if he's had a good game so far or is trying to find his way. He's a guy that when he's out there, he's always doing something to help you, whether it fills the stat sheet or not. Tonight, it filled the stat sheet. Previous games, it hasn't necessarily, but his impact is still felt.
Yeah, he's been great. And look, I think we've buried the lead long enough here. Let's go ahead and get to our play of the game presented by Arizona Lottery. If you're over the age of 21, play and gift today. And my, oh my, were we given a gift. Mark Williams said, you know who gives you the best presents? Yourself. Throws it off the backboard to himself, dunks it a la one of my favorite Suns players of all time, Gerald Green. Espo, I was screaming. We were at home today. Megan's like, you're scaring the cats. I'm like, I'm sorry. Mark Williams just threw a lob off the backboard to himself. She said, stop. You're still scaring the cats. I said, I can't. This was maybe the highlight of the season so far from the Suns.
Oh, I mean, look, usually it's a different kind of green I have flashbacks on, but I did have those Gerald Green moments there for sure when I saw that Mark Williams play. And the funny thing is, Mark Williams is significantly larger than Gerald Green was,
Yeah.
and still making a beautiful play. But again, that's a heady play because he knew he was kind of in no man's land. He wasn't going to be able to make the shot that he was kind of stuck with, but he knew if he threw it off that backboard, he was going to get to it before any Pelican did. And it was a heady play, another smart play that could have been something ugly that he turned into something beautiful.
You know, they gave him a missed shot for that.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
It wasn't a
technically,
shot.
well, they can't give him an assist to himself on that.
But he didn't shoot. I don't know. He didn't shoot the ball. I thought that was a little BS. Like, that messed up the field goal percentage, man.
I mean, what else are you supposed to call it? Like, technically, it was thrown towards the basket. I guess that's.
I think you just give him a field goal attempt. You don't have to give him an assist. Like, you don't have to. Clearly not a shot attempt.
I think it's tough to not give him something. So,
Thon wants to know which green, AC green?
No. We know AC couldn't score. That was all about Gerald. All right,
but he could play. He could play every single game if he wanted to.
An Iron Man just couldn't score or didn't want to. I don't know which one.
You know that tweet? It's like the worst players on your team are always the ones who are the most available. No AC Green disrespect. That's my mom's favorite player, like, of all time. But AC Green
was never available. If you know, you know.
Oh, look, we talked a lot about Mark Williams. He wasn't the only one with good individual performances tonight. We had a lot of candidates for blue collar boy. Of course, Devin Booker did what he does in New Orleans, and that's dropped at least 30 points. We're going to keep on rolling on the PHNX Suns postgame shows. The Suns take home a 115-108 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans. We'll keep it rolling on the other side of our second break. Look, Bet365 is the best place for you to do your gambling. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't been doing that great, but Espo, Ayrton, and Gil, they're all positive money so far this season. And you know what? I bet they've been helped out by the fact that Bet365 ups their game every single season, and now they're including the last 5 games history for all the player props that you could put in your same game parlays. They're basically letting me know what I should be betting on, and I'm still messing it up. That is a skill issue, but Bet365, I love the interface. It's the cleanest, friendliest user app that I have ever had when it comes to gambling, and they have great deals as well. Tons and tons and tons of profit boosts, not just on the NBA, but NFL and everything in between. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 52342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov.
Good time to be a Suns fan. And don't you want to show off that Suns pride? Why not do it with a debit or credit card from our friends with Mountain America Credit Union? They've got the Suns card, and you can get it with the My Style checking account. You got to put your money somewhere. And I say, why not make it work for you a little harder just by putting it in a Mountain America checking account? The My Style checking account gives you loan rate discounts, gives you food and entertainment discounts, gives you mobile phone protection, telehealth access, and so much more. And their credit card, their credit card's fantastic too. There's no annual fee, and low rates are available for cash back. Plus, there's reward card options. So why wouldn't you do it? You can go to any Arizona branch to get your Suns card today. Visit macu.com/Suns. Insured by NCUA. Terms and conditions apply. Like everything in life, loans on approved credit. And tell them Espo sent you, and they'll say, who?
Might work, though. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us here on a Friday night. We'll be back with you Saturday night, pregame, postgame shows. The Suns take on the Pelicans, both on the road in a back-to-back. It's Eric and Espo holding it down with the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac. Gil and Steven on vacation. They are back home. You know, not really that cold, it seems like, where they're going back to. It was like 79 degrees in Charlotte today. I don't know how cold it was in Chicago, but
it kind of
seems like it
in Chicago. So.
Which is like, I mean, Ayrton could attest to this. That's like summer, basically, for them, because that is not that cold compared to where it usually is. Freckled Mamba says 45 degrees.
Got those 5 degrees wrong. Sorry.
Before we keep on talking about this game, I would just like to say maybe the best part about this game is that it's given us the opportunity to reminisce on Suns greats like, yes, Amari Stoudemire, but also two fan favorites, Ricky Rubio and Gerald Green. I did not think that they would come up tonight, but the self-lob, the stat line for Mark Williams, which is crazy that Ricky Rubio is the last guy to have done that.
Yeah.
Dude's a point guard. Just an all-around fun, maybe a little ode to some nostalgia as well tonight in the Phoenix Suns win.
You miss the guy that was on the call tonight, Rex Chapman, who is a Suns, I won't say legend. I think that's a term that is vastly overused for former players. It's like, oh, they came back, so we're just going to call him a legend. Rex was a very good player that had some of my favorite moments, including that three in the playoffs against Seattle, that one-footed three in Game 5, I believe it was. So another guy that was good to hear from and good to hear him talking about it. He also mentioned Antonio McDyess in the broadcast.
And Danny Manning.
Yeah, and Danny Manning.
He compared
Danny Manning.
Compared Derek Queen to Danny Manning, which I found interesting. How everybody's just naming their favorite Suns players from that 2010s era. A lot of Eric Bledsoe love in the chat.
Well, there was you got Alec Peters. You can't forget Alec Peters. You
love
can't
that
forget Archie
legend.
Goodwin.
Legend.
You can't forget Blake Griffin's brother there,
Taylor.
Gotta love Taylor. Luke Zeller,
of course,
Tyler's brother. You gotta love him. Best non-game shooter ever, as the GM at the time called him. Bryce Cotton, the touch,
Chris
the feel
Humphrey.
of Cotton. Yeah, Chris Humphreys, another great.
Quincy Acey. That's a auto poll from Ayrton.
Chase Budinger. Can't forget Chase played a brief time before he went and became a volleyball player.
Well, look, we could do this all night.
Could.
Seriously, I feel like if we just sat here and named all the Suns players we know, I think that we could make it to midnight. Easily.
Easy. Not a problem. 13,
easily.
My goat says the four-fingered assassin can't be beat. I think you know the guy that came up with that nickname too. So.
Oh, there you go. Look, we've got some Blue Collar Boy nominations and awards to hand out there, but we're going to put it on hold for just a second because we're 36 minutes into tonight's post-game show. We got to talk about Devin Armani Booker. Devin Booker tonight, 30 points, 10 of 16 from the field. He hit a three, 1 of 3 from deep, 9 of 11 from the line, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a team high plus 21 in 36 minutes tonight. Espo, not his high scoring game against the Pelicans, but he turned it on tonight when the team needed it and basically drove home the victory for Phoenix.
Well, and he was one of the few Suns to get to the free throw line because he kept pushing the issue, driving to the hoop, trying to get the foul, make the contact. Like, this was not your typical Devin was hitting every shot from mid range or pulling up on three. This was drive to the hoop, take what they're giving you, get in that lane because they kind of knew that was where the soft spot was going to be tonight, and he took advantage of it and did it well and came through in that fourth quarter. They went down and Devin said, no, you know what? I'm going to calm things down. I'm going to take over. They were down 5, Book cut it down and tied the game and just kept them in it and then helped, nail the door shut as well. But it wasn't just that. Rebounded effectively, passed the ball tonight, had a great assist to Mark down the stretch to kind of end it and seal it. There was so many things that he did well, and it didn't have to be the flashiest Devin Booker game for him to have a big impact. And you can tell that Collins helped take some of that pressure off of him from a ball handling perspective in the way that Grayson had been doing earlier in the year, and it's kind of helped him get back in a groove.
Well, yeah, no Grayson Allen tonight. So that performance from Colin Gillespie was big time. Devin Booker continues to be better at finding Mark Williams. He did it on the first play of the game that the Suns scored on, finding him in the paint after drawing 2. A lot of times when Devin Booker did draw 2 tonight, the Pelicans were just kind of letting Mark Williams roam to the basket. I think if we were talking about the Suns playing in October, early November, I don't think Book makes those reads to Mark. There were plenty of times that those were missed. I want to continue to shine a light on Devin Booker's defense. we are now almost to 2026, and I would say Devin Booker is having about as solid of a year defensively as I think I've seen him have. And to be doing that now, is he's starting to get some gray hair. He's got, a little bit long in the tooth. He's our veteran now,
28.
He's our veteran now. Look, having gray hair don't make you old. I know I've had gray hair for quite some time now. But it is interesting to kind of just see the bounce back from Book. And we went into the season thinking, man, he's going to have to score 30 a night. And while he did score 30 tonight, I think it was everything else that was the most impressive. I'll never stop being impressed with how Devin Booker scores the ball, but I think how he picked his moments tonight, when he decided to play make, his strength on the defensive end, I was just really thoroughly impressed by all of the other things that Devin Booker is doing. And that was something that, quite frankly, Espo, he had taken a step back on the last season or two. So it's been a breath of fresh air to see him back on the right side doing those things this season for a team that needs him to do it.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a definitive team this season, and Devin has done what's asked of him, found ways to help out, whether it's on the boards with assists, playing stronger defense than he has, knowing when to score, but also trusting his teammates to go out there and be able to do things, finding the guys around him, and trusting a guy like Colin who didn't play last year and has come in and become an integral part of this. But part of the reason he's been able to is because Devin Booker has shown belief in him and trusted him to make shots, to make the right pass and the right read, to help put him in the right position. Devin's done great this year, and this was another game that was the quintessential way you want to see Devin Booker play.
Well, and not just Colin Gillespie, but Dillon Brooks too. I know at times it's been a little frustrating to watch Devin Booker defer in a sense to Dillon Brooks. And tonight, I feel like this wasn't a game that Brooks really tried to put his stamp on. Obviously, there was the kerfuffle and then he hit the three afterwards. But late in the game, Dillon Brooks takes a shot, a big one, and he hits it. And a big part of that is throughout the season, Devin Booker, the tier one clear-cut superstar on this team, trusted Dillon Brooks to make the right play and to take shots that maybe other teammates and other teams wouldn't let him take. The same way with Colin Gillespie, the same way with Mark Williams. Devin Booker is installing confidence in these guys. And Espo, we're now seeing kind of the long game of this, where now when he defers or now when he needs somebody else to take the pressure off of him, he's passing to confident players who have now been able to get in a flow for months, not just, hey, we got to revolve our game around Devin Booker getting his shots off, because that's never how he's played.
But this is the evolution of Devin Booker. This is where you wanted to see him get. I mean, the critique early on was he was just all score, nothing else, right? It was all sizzle, no steak. And now you're seeing him, and he's continued to evolve. And I think we're seeing him reach that fully or close to fully evolved level where everybody kind of assumed he'd have to average 35, 36 points a game and be everything offensively for this team to win. And instead, he's kind of found where he can get his 26, on average, but have that impact everywhere else and play within Jordan Knott's system and set everybody else up. And this is exactly where people wanted Devin Booker to be. You want to call him a star, or people assume the way you become a star or a superstar is by just putting up gaudy points and that number. And that's not what it is. He's become the total package in a lot of ways and does not have to force the issue to try to score constantly to have his impact felt on a game and his impact felt in the win column. And that's where we are with Devin Booker now, is this evolved version of him where you don't need him to score 70 points in a night, but you need him to grab 8 rebounds sometimes or drop 10 assists while scoring 20 to 30 points. And all of a sudden, it works and it makes sense. And this is Devin Booker's team, but it doesn't have to mean he's the only guy that gets the spotlight. And that is the sign of a true leader and a true star, is a guy that's all right that Dillon Brooks might get some of the glow one night and Colin Gillespie another night, but Devin Booker is the center of it all and it provides the gravity that makes everything else possible.
I like what Wednesday said in chat here. says Ott is a coach who lets role players get aggressive, and Devin Booker is the type of egoless superstar who can give those guys the confidence to expand their game. I think that's beautifully said. You don't just look at Dylan Brooks with that, and you don't just look at Colin Gillespie. Grayson Allen at the beginning of the season, having the season of his career. Royce O'Neal is empowered to have the confidence to take sometimes frustrating, but sometimes rewarding threes that are really difficult. Jordan Goodwin and Jamari Bouye off the bench are getting empowered by Devin Booker to handle the ball, to play make out of the short roll, to take off the dribble mid-range shots or three-pointers spotting up like Jordan Goodwin. Ryan Dunn continues to be able to play with confidence, even though sometimes he struggles with his offense. Same thing with Oso Ighodaro. He's getting the ball in his hands. He's dribbling up the court and initiating. And I know it's not always with Devin Booker on the court, but you have to imagine that having the freedom of a role player from a coach and from a superstar perspective to not feel like they're breathing down your neck and waiting for you to make a mistake when these are the best athletes in the world, that's when you get a difference where we see these franchises like Miami, like Boston, and in their prime, like Golden State, who would seemingly pluck somebody off of the street and immediately they would be a good role player. They had this marriage of high-end talent, but egolessness that really kind of permeated down. And it starts with the coach, but it doesn't matter if the superstar doesn't buy in. Mike Budenholzer wasn't a good coach, but if the superstars still don't buy into whatever the coach is saying, which clearly there wasn't buy-in last year, there's even more of a disconnect. Espo, it's a perfect marriage from a basketball mind sort of thing, and we're seeing it play out on the court in real time this season.
Well, Devin's one of those guys that doesn't play for the name on the back of the jersey. I know it's a cliche, but he plays for the name on the front of the jersey. And when he's not a guy that's going to sit there and sulk because, oh, I didn't get my 35 tonight, or oh, you're putting me in a corner, or you're doing this or that. No, he's going to go out there and he's going to just do what the team needs. And that is leadership. Whatever it takes, I'll do it. The Devin Booker mentality, that is leadership. That is what stardom and ethical basketball is about. And he hits it on every level. And to your point, it makes everybody else better. And Jordan Ott being a guy that trusts everybody else, and Devin Booker being the superstar, they fit together like those puzzle pieces, like you were saying, and it makes all of this make a lot more sense. You've got a coach and a superstar that are aligned. Yes, I said it. And that makes everything else fall into place down the line.
Well, and look, we've been giving a lot of credit to the front office and to Brian Gregory and everybody who works under him. But also, it doesn't matter if Devin Booker trusts guys who are ass. Like, if they're not good at basketball, none of this matters, right? The talent evaluation for this team has been off the charts as they continue to win games shorthanded. And that was exactly what they did tonight. All of what you mentioned is also the essence of a blue-collar boy, and we need to name our blue-collar boy of the night. We also need to take our final break, so that's exactly what we are going to do. Look, I can change my thermostat right now without having to get up. I can do it while Espo is reading the next ad because I, of course, have an APS smart thermostat, and it comes in handy for a lot of different reasons. I can take advantage of lower cost off-peak hours so that my energy bill stays low, no matter if it's the summer or the winter, but also for some of the smaller things in life, just beyond saving money. Let's say you're entertaining for the holidays. Let's say you have a New Year's party coming up and everybody's having a great time, but you can tell, okay, I see some beads of sweat on everybody. I'm getting a little hot in here too, but I'm all the way on the other side of the house. Pull out your phone or any device. You could change your smart thermostat, throw that AC on, or maybe you're having a nice cozy night in, you're watching a movie and you do not want to get up and turn the heat on, even though it's getting a little chilly. You pull out your phone, APS smart thermostat, and you can change it. And right now, APS customers can get a new smart thermostat from as low as $0 at aps.com/sale. Shipping and taxes not included. Other restrictions apply, but save yourself time and money with a new smart thermostat from APS.
Have you been in a serious accident and have serious injuries because of it? Don't waste time, because researching who your lawyer is going to be is the most important thing you can do, but I can save you minutes, hours, days. Go with the husband and wife law team, because Mark and Alexis Breyer take this seriously. Serious injury and accident law is what they are experts in. It's just that simple. Less than 1% of attorneys are certified in the state, and that is what the husband and wife law team is. They're going to go to trial and they're going to get you a result that is best for you, not for the firm. You can get in touch with your lawyer at any point. I went through this. I could not get in touch with my lawyer. It was one of the more frustrating things. So if you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at the link in our show notes and tell them PHNX sent you.
Did you get what you wanted for the holidays? Maybe you didn't. Maybe you want to get what you really want at Fascinations. Because at Fascinations, they have everything to make your nights merry and bright well beyond December 25th. Oh?
Ho, ho, ho.
Look, let's be honest, Espo. Walking into adult shop, it's not for everybody. You don't need the weird eye contact, the awkward checkouts, or the "is this for you?" look. Now you can buy online and pick up in store fast, easy, totally discreet. Shop online at fascinations.net or visit one of their 12 locations in Arizona, because what happens under the mistletoe or maybe on New Year's Eve, well, it stays there with Fascinations, your one-stop shop for pleasure this holiday season. Use promo code PHNX30 to receive 30% off your order. That's PHNX30 for 30% off your order at fascinations.net. Fascinations naughty list and New Year's resolution approved. I approve of the Suns win tonight, 115-108. Always fun to transition out of those ads. But Aaron says
the Suns scored tonight 115 points. They took it to the hole effectively.
Yes, and the refs tried to delay the finish. Look, Aaron says, be calm, see clearly. That's the code. We'll get to your super chats here in a second. Be calm. But first, we got to get to some more hard workers. That's our blue collar boy of the night. There were a lot of options, but we got to give it to one man and one man only. Sir Ryan Dunn, who exited the game with what seemed like a hyperextended knee. We have a little bit of time that we still need to wait until we get some more information on that, but ended the game with 9 points, 4 of 8 from the field. He hit a 3, also added 8 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and a block, a clutch steal and block. And Espo, when he came back in the game, he was playing defense like I maybe haven't seen him play defense all year. This might have been Ryan Dunn's best game. And I know 9 points, 8 rebounds isn't exactly a world beater, but it's the blue collar boy that really, really shined tonight for Ryan.
Well, that block was unbelievable. And the fact that he came back from what looked like it could have been a serious knee injury and just came in and was flying all over the place, was grabbing boards, was having a huge impact. I had a couple buckets as well. That's the spirit of this team right there. Is doesn't matter. All right, I'm fine. This training staff said I'm good to go. I'm right back in there. I'm doing everything that you could want out of me. And I agree. I think maybe that was a little bit of a wake-up call as well, because we know how you could lose, that whole opportunity in the blink of an eye. And sometimes when you get that scare, you go, oh, all right, I'm okay. I'm going to go out there and just play free and play with that enthusiasm. And he did that. And the defense was just fantastic.
I continue to love his nose for rebounding the ball. 8 rebounds tonight, 4 of those offensive rebounds, including some putbacks at crucial times for the Suns. He was just all over the place making plays. You mentioned kind of getting hurt and getting snapped into it. I think about getting punched in the face in a fight. And as somebody who did that as a sport, sometimes you weren't kind of feeling into it. And then all of a sudden somebody hit you. I've got videos of me just getting absolutely kicked in the face really hard. And then immediately kind of like, all right, like, let's do this. Like, let's fight. Right. It just, sometimes it's a weird thing about the human spirit where it's like, you kind of got to get rattled a little bit, but obviously it's a little different when you hurt your leg. I was thinking we're not going to see Ryan Dunn for at least a week when that happened. Now, who knows? Adrenaline, Toradol shots, all of that. We still might not see him play tomorrow, which would be a pretty big hit, assuming Mark Williams also doesn't play on the second night of a back-to-back, which has been the plan so far this year. But if that's it, if this is what we get from him and then he has to sit tonight, it's well worth it that he came back in. The Suns don't win this game without Ryan Dunn.
No, agree wholeheartedly. Let's be clear. Eric used to be in martial arts. He didn't just go around and get punched in the face as a sport, all right? But he is, you'd think he'd bounce back better in our betting since he was used to taking a beating.
Did anybody else hit tonight? Yeah, Gil hit minus 220 Suns money line. I don't think Ayrton hit. I don't think you hit. So I don't think we need to bring it up tonight because we got to save some room for some other blue collar boys. I think Colin Gillespie is also a nominee here. Same story. as Ryan Dunn. He like slipped. I don't know if there was a wet spot on the court, but it looked like he pulled his groin and slipped there on defense. He exits, goes back, comes back in, and then boom, he's hitting clutch shots. He's hitting threes. He's making good plays on defense as well. Gutsy performance from Colin Gillespie yet again.
Yeah, that just seems to be who he is. He gets knocked down, he gets hit. You'll see him grab at something. I mean, there was I think it was the knee a couple games ago, and he hobbled off, but came right back in. That's the hallmark of this group, and Colin Gillespie in particular. And again, another guy that he missed that layup late, but then came back and hit a shot right after that. Clutch in the final 2 minutes, and it's just a mentality. Nothing seems to rattle him in particular in this team in a lot of ways. And I want to also give a shout out to Rasheer Fleming, who came in when Ryan got hurt, and hasn't played much. Had played some G League stints, hasn't gotten a lot of minutes when games are still in the balance this year. Came in, was not afraid to shoot. Had 6 points really quick. Had grabbed a board. Did some things defensively that you go, okay, I feel a little bit better about seeing this kid out on the floor. And if Ryan Dunn did miss time, I think he's a guy that certainly could step in and at least give you some of what you got from Ryan, and potentially even more offensively.
Well, and that's the thing. I fully expect Rasheer Fleming to continue to play minutes going into 2026 as we get closer to the trade deadline. The Suns need to figure out if this kid can play this year. And my gut tells me yes. He passes the eye test. Obviously, he didn't hit a 3 tonight, 0 of 3 from deep, but still shot 50% from the field for 6 points. Yeah, he doesn't really light up the stat sheet, but it's all the intangibles, it's all the measurables from him. And these were the best minutes that we saw out of Rasheer so far at the NBA level. And we've seen him in the G League kind of slowly build his way up, the same as Kaman, where maybe it looked a little rough at the beginning. I think Rasheer Fleming just needs to play more basketball. The good news is, I don't know if there's a lineup on this roster that Rasheer Fleming can't fit into. You want to go 3 guards, Rasheer Fleming can play. You want to go big, Mark Williams and Oso? Guess what? Rasheer Fleming can play. You want to play Ryan Dunn and Dillon Brooks? Guess what? Rasheer Fleming can still play. He is kind of this ultimate wild card for this team going into the trade deadline, going into 2026. Espo, he's not hesitant with the 3. He's not hesitant defensively. He got called with ticky-tack fouls today, but he was still able to be physical, set some decent screens, which for somebody his size isn't very common. I expect big things from him this season relative to what his role will be. I fully expect him to be in the rotation a month from today.
He's got the measurables. He's got everything. He has the talent. He's supposed to be a first-round pick. Suns got lucky enough to get him with that first pick in the second round. And, yeah, I think some of this is Suns didn't expect to be where they are. They thought maybe there'd be more minutes for a guy like Rasheer Fleming because maybe they wouldn't be as successful with things working out as well as they have. He's had to get those minutes in the G League, but there will come a time where his number's called, just like tonight, for an extended period of time, and I think he'll play impactful basketball. It's, to your point, it's when, it's not if. So,
any other names you want to talk about specifically for tonight? We won't go too much longer because we got another Pelicans game tomorrow.
I think Jordan Goodwin is another guy that night in, night out, you look and he's doing something, getting a couple steals, just out there playing aggressive, holding down those third string or second string right now minutes in terms of backup guard and doing things that are impressive. I found myself thinking tonight and even tweeting, it's crazy that the Lakers just literally gave this guy to the Suns, cut him, let the Suns pick him up off waivers. Also, they could keep Bronny James. I mean, good on you guys for doing that. Thank you for that move, because I don't think this team is where they're at without Goodwin's tough-nosed play and ability to get rebounds when he's down there low beyond the block, and being smart enough to know there's going to be an opportunity for this offensive board. I'm not going to take off and go try to play defense. I'm going to try to get this board and give us another shot. Overall, he's been fantastic, and he had a couple of those moments tonight that just made you went, that guy is what blue collar is all about.
You know what's so funny, Espo? 20 minutes tonight for Jordan Goodwin. 4 points, 2 of 10 from the field, 0 of 7 from deep, 3 turnovers, especially some of those ugly ones early on. Still grabbed 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and had some pretty pivotal defensive plays in there. It's just funny to have a guy who can come off of the bench, completely stink it up offensively, which, let's be honest, that's exactly what Jordan Goodwin did tonight. And we're still going to, yeah, we're going to sit here and we're going to give him praise. Right. And that's multifaceted value from so many players on this roster, from top to bottom, from Devin Booker to Jamari Bouye. Nobody just does one thing. And that is a really, really big asset for this team going forward. It's really refreshing. It continues to be refreshing. Oso had a good game tonight. Probably the worst Jamari Bouye game, but don't worry, Jamari Nation, we're going to bounce back tomorrow against the Pelicans. We'll be back for a pre and a post game show. Let's get to some super chats before we get out of here. I will read the one from our own Johnny Venerable, of course, host of PHNX Cardinals.
Who let Johnny in here?
Well, yeah, Johnny says, consuming as much PHNX Suns as I can to try to remember what winning looks like. Sorry, Johnny.
Johnny, you're always welcome to stop by. We may not give you a mic, but you're willing to sit in. You're always available to sit in. You can do.
I give Johnny a mic. Johnny had great takes on KD last year. I will say, if you would have told us in December that Johnny Venerable, host of PHNX Cardinals, would be sitting in here talking about how the Suns were showing them how to win, I don't think any of us would have believed that.
No. And Johnny has good takes on everything because the man just knows how to have a take and not suck, as Jim Rome used to say. So
yeah, Johnny, if you want to call in, just shoot us a message. We'll bring you up on StreamYard right now. I want to get Ayrton on the mic, at least for the second Be Calm super chat, because I can't read the second one. I'll read the first one. I can't read the second one. So a $10 super chat from Be Calm See Clearly says, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, release him. Booker was my Christmas gift and I need it. And I snatched him 30 points and I love you. Me and him are together forever. Again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, release him and investigate him. Salute emoji. Salute to you. Be Calm See Clearly. And I can't read this next one, Ayrton. I need you. I don't care if you have a good mic or not. I need you to read this one.
We got $2 from BCom See Clearly saying, let's go Steelers. Let's go Seahawks. Fly, Hawks, fly. Salute.
Can't read that one. We do appreciate you. Be calm. We really do. Yeah, it's gross. The grossest thing about Be Calm See Clearly, Seahawks fan. Look,
Ohio State ain't much better. Let's just,
You got anything to say about that, Ayrton? I guess not.
We're playing soon. Just watch.
Oh, that's what we're going to have to do. Look, any final thoughts, Espo, on a 7-point victory for the Suns, overcome 42 free throws from the Pelicans, a feisty team that had won 5 out of their last 6. The Suns now 4 games over 500, a chance to be 5 games over 500 tomorrow, and still relatively poor health.
You better hope that you're only fighting against the Pelicans tomorrow night, not the refs, because if Mark Williams and the plan continues along the way that it has, you won't see him tomorrow night at 5 o'clock tomorrow night, when that game is an hour earlier than tonight. And that concerns me, because if you're going up against the refs, you're dealing with the same free throw discrepancy. You don't have Mark. Who are you playing? Are you playing Oso as your starter? Is Nick Richards getting minutes? Like, what? A guy that really has not seen minutes in a long while. Where are you going, and how are you going to continue to play well? You're going to have a better game from Brooks tomorrow. You're going to have to hit better from 3 if Mark isn't going to play, because he's not going to be down there to save your ass and bail you out. So it's going to be interesting tomorrow night in New Orleans again.
I think there's a chance you don't see Ryan Dunn tomorrow. I think there's a chance you don't see Colin Gillespie tomorrow. I think there's definitely a very, very good chance you don't see Mark Williams. You're not going to see Jalen Green. The one guy that you might see is Grayson Allen, who Coach Ott said he hoped to see in New Orleans. Obviously, he was just listed as out today. Now, the injury report was a little weird because they didn't release an injury report yesterday because it was Christmas, so he might have been doubtful if they released an injury report yesterday, but they just released it closer to game time today. So he was listed as out. We'll keep you updated on @PHNX_Suns on Twitter with the latest updates on Grayson Allen and all those other guys that might miss tomorrow. But that's why tonight was absolutely a must win. Devin Booker said it, but more importantly, Espo and I said it in pregame. It was a 10 on the Suns must-win meter, and the Suns have continued to take care of business in games that really matter against worse opponents. This is a good team, and they continue to cement that, and they continue to cement it not fully healthy. It's impressive every single night, and I just want to make sure that everybody continues to appreciate it because we've now come to expect it, but that shouldn't mean that we should grow numb to it. This team works hard every single night. Their superstar is an egoless superstar. They have a fantastic head coach. The role players are ready for any moment and will make any impact, whether they're needed to hit threes or just play good defense on other good players. It's a blessing to be able to root for a team like this. And honestly, they should only just be getting better at this point in the season. And it's going to be exciting to continue to follow their journey. So you could follow along with the Suns. You could follow along with PHNX Suns, like I mentioned, @PHNX_Suns on Twitter and on Instagram as well. We're posting all of our reels and highlights and stuff there on Instagram. So make sure you check us out over on that platform. We appreciate the freckled Mamba being the voice of Be Calm, See Clearly, and of course, our voice of reason behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. We appreciate him. You can go ahead and give him a follow @freckled Mamba. You can follow me @ERIKRUBY. You can follow Espo @Espo. And remember, we'll be back tomorrow. And if Mark Williams isn't going to be playing, I heard Espo is going to be the starting center.
Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.